Hey, Run Tribe Bike community. Welcome to the Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. Today we have Claire Shorenstein with us, and Claire is a sports dietitian and the founder of Eat for Endurance. She's also a podcast host, a distance runner, and she can help you with customized fueling strategies, and we all need that. You've seen her article on our site about 5 easy ways to get carbs. There will be another article coming out in a few days about nutrition and traveling, and you don't want to miss those articles. Just click on the little search button, type in Claire's name, Claire, and they will pop up for you. Before we bring her on the show, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. You can also leave a comment if you're using Spotify for your podcasts. There are 9 shows to choose from with various stories and hosts, and I'm sure you'll find one or all of them to your liking. So without any further delays, let's bring Claire onto the show and chat with her about nutrition, hydration, and everything in between as we make our way into the spring racing season. Hey, Claire, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise with our audience. I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So before we get started, I alluded to this in the green room with you. I want to establish your credentials. Not because I don't think you know what you're talking about, but I want our audience to know what you're talking about. And this is not one of those influencer conversations that tells you to do everything on 2 drips of water and a squeeze of lemon. So you are a sports dietitian. How long have you been a sports dietitian, and what got you into that field?
Yeah, so I've been practicing as a registered dietitian and sports dietitian for over 10 years now. I am a career changer. I got into this a little bit later in life. So at the ripe age of 30, I went back to grad school, got my basically a second bachelor's degree in science this time and a second master's degree in clinical nutrition, and dove right into it. I also am a board certified sports dietitian, so it's a specialist degree, and that's that CSSD credential. So my credentials are MS, that's the Master's of Science, RD, registered dietitian, CSSD. I think it's, what does it stand for? Certified Specialist in Sports Dietetics. I want to say it's a mouthful. And essentially for that, you have to be a dietitian for at least 2 years. That's really that master's degree and the dietitian degree and all the schooling that goes with it. Excuse me. And you have to have a minimum documented of I think it's 2,000 hours of relevant work. So in the sports nutrition field. And if you're recertifying, because you have to take this big national exam and you recertify every 5 years, and then you have to have another documented, I think it's 1,500 hours. So it's like this big old thing to get this nice certification after your name. So those are just my credentials. And in terms of what got me into it, I am a longtime runner. I started running at the age of 15 in my high school cross country team. I was always more of a artsy type, more into school, and I have my first master's degree in oboe performance and was very dedicated to my academics. But a friend kind of convinced me to join the high school cross country team, and I really loved running ever since. But it wasn't until my late 20s when I was living in London, because I've lived all over the place. But I was living in London, and I kind of rediscovered running after some time off and caught the running bug, and ran my first half marathon. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to run my first marathon, and just went from there. So these days I'm more into kind of trail and ultra. I'm taking a little hiatus from ultra, kind of recovering from an injury, but love trail running. And kind of in this whole journey of after I graduated from college and grad school, deciding I didn't want to become a musician, I was kind of floating around, just working jobs to, pay the bills and that kind of thing. And realized when I loved running and distance running that, oh my gosh, you cannot wing this with nutrition. Like, you really have to know what you're doing. I was feeling pretty crappy, feeling just not doing a great job with my fueling, and really started looking into it a little bit more and wanting to learn more about it. I'm also I come from a family of people, doctors and therapists and people who really enjoy helping people. So I think I've just always been drawn to the work of working one-on-one and with groups and just helping people, but I knew I didn't want to be in a clinical setting. And so sports nutrition really just called out to me as a place that I wanted to be. So I kind of found my way there after lots of additional schooling, and I guess originally from a selfish point of view, I just wanted to know how to fuel myself for my own distance runs, and now I've been working with tons of different types of athletes, mostly endurance, but really, I mean, everyone, every sport. and people who aren't even training for races to figure out how they can really learn how to fuel themselves to feel their best, both every day and in their athletic endeavors. Because, what I work with athletes, and I largely work with recreational, but I do work with some elites. And, either way, like, you don't want to feel like crap when you're not training, right? You are a human being after all. Athletics, especially if you are an amateur athlete, like, that's just what you do for fun. That's part of your life, even though it takes a lot of your time. And so you really want to make sure that you're showing up at the rest of your life feeling good and being healthy and all that stuff.
So is that kind of what got you into wanting to work with other people? Meaning you started looking at this stuff, doing research, figured out, oh my goodness, if I actually eat carbs and if I actually drink liquids and if I actually do this stuff, I feel better. There must be other people out there that are not doing this and I can help them.
Yes, absolutely. So, as I said, it was a little bit selfish initially, just wanting to learn for my own benefit how to fuel. I also come at this, I didn't mention, I do have a history of an eating disorder in high school and into college, and disordered eating that I was kind of coming out of and recovering from. And by the time that I was entering into endurance sports, I had moved beyond that. But just from that point of view as well, there are so many people who, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, are under fueling. And I do work with a lot of those folks. And so coming at it from that angle as well, I was very interested in helping people who are struggling, because it's very, very common, especially in the endurance space.
Yeah, that's a great segue into a conversation I wasn't intending to have today. But I suffered from disordered eating when
Yeah.
I got into the sport of triathlons, and I point at the sport of triathlon because you are absolutely stuck in this skin tight kit that
Yep.
shows everything. And so immediately I start thinking, well, I've got to look better in this kit. I can't have this, that, or the other thing happening. And you start looking at vanity metrics. What are my watts per kilogram? How can I push the bike harder and faster? And one way to make that number look bigger is to drop the G part in that fraction, right? And so I start, almost not eating, and then find myself 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night in the pantry, shoveling calories into my face because I've ridden my bike that day for 5, 6, 7 hours and I'm starving. When you are working with athletes and you can see sort of these traits in them, how easy, how hard is it for you to approach them about this topic?
It can be really tricky. So I do have a lot of people coming to me, and I literally just had a potential client call today about this. I have a lot of people coming to me who are saying they want to lose weight or want to change their body comp, and oftentimes it's for performance. Often it's performance, and it's also aesthetics. And look, I mean, I'm never gonna like fault someone for wanting to be more comfortable in their body or look better or all that stuff. Like, I understand, and I work with a lot of women who are maybe in midlife and beyond, and they're in these changing bodies, and it's really hard. At the same time, our priority, and certainly my priority as a professional, is to figure out, okay, how can we support you to really make sure that we're prioritizing your health and your performance goals, because that's really important to you. And the problem is that when someone's trying to lose weight and they have performance goals, because they always want both. It's not one or the other. It's like, hey, I want to like perform really well and crush my this race that I have coming up. And by the way, I want to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, well, we can't do both at the same time. Like, that's putting you at risk, and you're gonna do a crappy job of both things. Um, it's not to say that weight loss is not like an appropriate goal for certain people at certain times of the year, like maybe in the off season or other times. But like, I just had a conversation with a client, for instance, or a potential client who has a half Ironman in September. So that's quite a ways away. And so technically he's not racing right now, but he just did like a 2-hour bike today. Like, it's not like he's not training and doing lots of stuff. So it's really walking a very fine line with this kind of thing. And then in terms of, you mentioned some, like, or even yourself, like, kind of restricting all day and then binging at night. And that's really where it comes back to, like, I see this all the time with people, these like inconsistent eating patterns. And it's obviously a lot more complicated than just telling people, oh, just eat every 3 to 4 hours and have balanced meals and snacks, because of that kind of psychological component. And it's a spectrum, right? Obviously, there's full on eating disorders, and then eating, disordered eating, and it's all a spectrum. And then with eating disorders, it's an actual mental health issue. It's not like oh, you just got to snap out of it. It's like a mental health disorder. So it's very layered, it's very complicated, and it very much depends on the individual case. If we're taking someone who doesn't really have an eating disorder and is just kind of having these struggles, then it really is just talking to the person about what their goals really are, what are they really trying to accomplish, what their priorities are. So there's that aspect. And sometimes, yeah, things are conflicting and we got to point that out. And then it's often just looking at their entire day. Like maybe it's just doing a diet recall and saying, okay, like when I do a diet recall, what I mean by that is like, okay, what time you're waking up and everything you're eating and drinking across that day. I like to know context, like where exercise is happening, what else is going on, what's leading to the decisions you're making. And when we see like these huge gaps in your day, so then we're finding out, okay, well, why did that happen? Are you intentionally restricting? Were you just really busy at work? Like what was going on there? And then especially when we see like a binge pattern at night, or when I see people with a lot of like food rules and fears and all kinds of stuff, I actually have a really helpful worksheet that's free on my website. If anyone wants to like download that and just do this exercise on your own, I think it's very helpful. But when I see these huge gaps, then you kind of I usually point out to people, I'm like, you know what? Let's just like try some stuff. Let's just, if you feel open to it, let's experiment. What happens when or if, instead of, working out fasted, we add a carb-rich snack before that morning workout. Like, how does that make you feel in the afternoon? What if instead of that salad at lunch with protein, let's add some carbs there? Or, hey, I noticed that you're going 6-7 hours without, in between meals without eating. What would happen if we added like a carb and protein containing snack? Maybe we're adding some fat and fiber in there, but some sort of snack, like whatever you choose, what you feel you're capable of doing. What if we had a snack in the afternoon? What happens? Do you feel so starving later? Do you feel out of control? So we kind of just experiment, and like we can start really, really small with little things that they feel comfortable with. Because for me, it's really important that, especially when someone's very resistant, that we start really small. And they usually start to notice, oh wow, that helps, or gosh, I'm not so starving later. And then where the tricky piece comes in is this mental component, the resistance, but if I add carbs to my lunch, I'll get fat. Or, if I do this, like this will happen. Almost always, I will say, is the fear of weight gain. That's almost always the fear. Fear of carbs, fear of eating more, all this stuff. So it's really, really hard when that kind of fear is present and these deep beliefs are present. It takes a lot of work. It's not as simple as, hey, just eat this and, all these things will go away. So again, it really just depends on the individual. But often just kind of, trying a little bit, trying some kind of very simple, small things and seeing if they notice changes in their energy levels and their performance and their behavior around food and their sleep, whatever, that often helps.
I mean, it's such a great point, and I can point to myself as an example on this. So I'm training for Javelina in October, and my goal has been to get somewhere between 400 to 500 calories an hour into my body. And when I first got into these sports, like there's 0% chance I would even think about getting that high. I would think about somewhere between 2 and 250. And I would justify it with, well, I have enough carbs in my liver and I'll be fine. And I'm doing all of these things. In the time, I would say in the last 6 to 8 weeks, I've been getting to 400 to 500. What I've noticed is later in the day, I was not as hungry as I had been before that. And then this past weekend, I ran for an hour and I had maybe like 140 calories of like Tailwind or something in my water bottle. And when we went to lunch that day, I was ravenous. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, well, duh, right? 400 to 500 calories has kept me fueled and satiated, that I wasn't trying to eat the table while I was sitting here having lunch. And I think people, to your point, probably should start to experiment and figure out working with a registered dietitian like yourself, so that they know that they're doing it properly. Because, and this is a long way to get to this question. When we open up any social media app today, there's bound to be somebody who is telling you, you don't need to drink water, you don't need to eat fuel, you should do everything on no carbs or all carbs or no protein or all, like, it's just a jumbled mess of information out there. How do you break through that noise as a person who not only is educated, right? You have degrees, you're licensed, I presume you have to get CEUs every few years to get
Yes,
relicensed.
yes, yes,
right?
yes, I do. I
Right?
do. Every 5
Because
years I have to, yeah, tons of continuing education.
yeah, right. Like because the science
Mhm.
changes, information
Yep.
changes, you have to be up to date, right? So how do you break through that noise to get people to say, I want to listen to Claire and what she says?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's really hard. It's very loud out there, and there's a lot of a lot of voices, some that are quite scary in the information that is provided. Yeah, I mean, I think, uh, obviously, I just encourage people to obviously, take their nutrition advice from actual nutrition experts. It certainly isn't to say that people who are not registered dietitians, trainers or health coaches or whatever never have anything helpful, correct, accurate, whatever to say. Of course they do. They're very knowledgeable people who are not registered dietitians. There are also lots of people out there who are doing harm, even including physicians and such. And because they have an MD, they think, they're not nutrition experts though, but because the MD credential, people might believe them. So, people have to just be really careful. Another dietitian said this to me when we were talking about nutrition for teenage athletes, and I thought it was a really great way of thinking about it. That social media, he was advising to his student athletes, use social media for entertainment, and not necessarily, not to say that you can't use it for information. I mean, here we are speaking and people are watching on social media. So it's not to say that, but just like you have to be so careful about where you get your information, who you get it from, and just thinking about, does this make sense? It's just using your critical thinking skills. Like, does this actually make sense? And not to say that like you have to like not believe anyone at any point, but just because you see someone say something in a very confident way and throwing around scientific terms doesn't mean it's true. We see a lot of people shouting in grocery stores, or God knows, do just, all these like influencers like claiming that like oatmeal is going to kill you, or God knows what, right? I can't even keep up with all the BS out there. And they're throwing around like studies, like, I mean, I don't know, just because you just have to be so careful these days about where you get nutrition information. So how to break through the noise? Honestly, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, does this even make sense and does this work? Like if someone's trying, if someone's telling you to go run your marathon on a ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting or whatever, you want to try that out? Go be my guest, try that out. See how that's going to work out for you. It's probably not going to work out well. So not to encourage people to try harmful behaviors. I certainly don't want to do that, but I think if you actually try some of these things or ask yourself if it makes sense, like, often it doesn't. But I get it. It can be so confusing, and between like all the maha stuff and seed oils, and it's just like it makes your brain hurt. Like my brain just freaking hurts. Like I just can't. And like I mean, there has to be room for nuance in this stuff. Like
Yes.
if people are taking really extreme stances on things, that's such a huge red flag. Another dietitian who came on my show, we were talking about nutrition myths, and one thing she said was follow the money. And I'm like, yeah, what are they selling? What are they
Yeah.
selling? What are they like talking about, like toxic this and that, whatever? And then they're selling you some ridiculous supplement that has some proprietary blend that's like super shady, So they're just looking out for red flags. They're everywhere. Yeah.
What's funny is like for us, when we answer a question about running shoes and we tell people, go check out this Topo athletic shoe, we will also say, by the way, they are a marketing partner of ours so that they know to take it with a grain of salt in a sense, right? So they understand that these guys are paying Run Try Bike as a marketing partner. Now we run in the shoes all the time, right? And we're talking about where we come from in the fact that we are using those shoes, but it is the follow the money. I feel that we need to be transparent, that if I tell you,
Oh
go
yeah.
check out the Spectre 2, you should also know that we're getting paid, right? Now, they don't pay us per mention, don't get me wrong, but you should know that they're paying us, that they're an advertising partner of ours.
Yeah.
And reality is, I didn't run in them for the first 2 years that they were paying us to be a marketing partner. And it wasn't until just a few years ago that I started using them. all of that is to say, like, to your point, and to the guest you had on, like, follow the money, see where the money is coming from, what they're promoting and what they're talking about, because that oftentimes will lead you to the answer that you're searching for, which is, I don't know that I should trust this.
Yeah, I mean, I really try hard not to recommend products that I don't try on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's, I mean, even in my practice, so I do some like testing services. I want to know what the whole or client experience is. And so I will make sure that I try whatever test it is or whatever, whatever it is, I want to try it on myself, see what it's like, and then I can offer to my clients. And similarly, like, because I have brands reaching out to me all the time. Most of them I ignore because they're gross or shady or totally do not align with my philosophy at all. And I just hit delete and ignore. As a podcaster, I also get tons of, brands wanting to do that stuff. And if it's a brand that I like, that I align with, that I believe in, that I would genuinely recommend to my clients, even if I weren't getting some affiliate, whatever, then I will recommend it. I will never recommend something that I don't believe in to get some, 2 cents of kickback or whatever it is. And then equally, yeah, if I ever have an affiliate link, because I do have some affiliate links on my page, it very clearly says so. And that's ethics, So another thing about being a registered dietitian, we have a code of ethics that we have to stand by. And if not, we get reported. Like we have to do that. So this is the difference between being some random quote self proclaimed nutritionist and being a registered dietitian. It's a very different thing. I always tell people, because people often don't even know what a dietitian is. You can call yourself, it's a registered dietitian or RDN, registered dietitian nutritionist, which they added because so many people didn't know what a dietitian was. So we can call ourselves nutritionists if we want. Nutritionists cannot call themselves registered dietitians unless they've earned that credential.
And that's a really good point, and we'll make sure we put that in the show notes too, so that people understand where they're getting their information and who's giving it to them. You mentioned myths earlier. I would love to hear if you have one myth that you hear like every racing season come the spring or the fall, and not that it makes you cringe, but you're like, I got to deal with this again. Like, why are we still dealing with this myth? Is there one out there that you're like, goodness gracious, can we bury this thing already?
I mean, there are a few, so I might have to list 2 or 3.
Go for it.
One is that sugar is bad, or simple carbs are bad. And, I'm a firm believer that all foods have a place in the diet. Obviously, no one's going to sit around and argue that sugar is a health food and that, you need to be eating it all day, every day, all the time. But if we're talking about active people, and especially if we're talking about endurance sports, simple carbs are incredibly important. And that simple carbs, that includes sugar. So, yeah, I mean, sugar has a place. Like, carbs are your body's preferred fuel source. You're not sitting around eating like high fiber bread or like, farro or whatever and quinoa on the side of a trail. Like you need gels, you need sports drinks, you need, very easy to digest carbohydrate. And there are lots of different forms of that. In order to get into your bloodstream quickly, to give you that fast energy source that your body requires. So, people are constantly demonizing sugar. And, I've had clients not want to take gels or, want to eat real food over gels. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, that source of carbohydrate in solid form is like basically the same thing. Like, you're just
Right.
sugar. But yeah, so people kind of freak out a little bit. And it's just remembering that, like, if you care about your sport and you want to feel your best, like, these products are specifically designed for a purpose. No one in their right mind is sitting around on a couch, like hanging out, watching TV, eating a gel. Like, pretty much no one I know is doing that. If you're doing that, like, what the hell? This isn't something like, it's not like an enjoyable, fun food. Like, again, it has a purpose. They're also really expensive. So yeah, sugar is just something that is part of an athlete's diet. And whether it's actual sugar in the form of a gel or sport drink or chews or whatever, or whether we're talking about like white bread or a plain bagel or regular pasta, white rice, dairy, milk is a simple sugar as well. There are lots of different, like maple syrup, honey, like those are all simple carbs. Those are things that are really helpful, and endurance athletes have higher carbohydrate needs. So the more exercise you're doing, the more higher your carbohydrate needs are. And, at a certain point, it can be hard to get that much food into your body. So if you're constantly choosing really high fiber sources of carbohydrate, like there's only so many like beans and whole grains you can eat. We have to supplement or include, some of these more simple carb sources. So yeah, that's one I'd say that I constantly have a discussion around. The other one is that you have to lose weight to be faster. Fed is faster, and I'm not arguing that weight is not at all a factor. It is, but there are so many factors that influence performance, and yet weight is the one that gets the most airtime.
Mm-hmm.
So people are so tunnel vision when it comes to weight. And then what about like, hey, are you eating enough? Are you including carbohydrates? Is your performance nutrition dialed in? Are you sleeping well? Is your stress at least somewhat managed? I mean, that one always kind of, I say stress management, I'm like the most stressed out person ever. So, I mean, I just have to I'm a realist. So I know everyone's just doing their best in their lives. So I just want to put a little asterisk on the stress one and be like, I feel you. We are all stressed and trying our best. So there's that. But again, if everyone put as much focus on all of these other things, I mean, there's this huge list of things. I just mentioned a few. If they put focus on all these other areas and didn't just focus on weight,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gosh, what a difference that would make. So when I get someone, circling back to one of your earlier questions about restriction and eating a lot later, I mean, when I get people who are really caught up on weight, I mean, what am I doing with them? The way I start my work with clients is the same for everybody. I'm assessing your nutrition status, what's going on, what I call your life landscape. So what are all the different things in your life that are affecting your fueling decisions? And we're looking at all those gaps. We're identifying just how can you be a better fueled person? How can we support your overall health better, so that you feel better in workouts, so that you recover better, so that you're not getting sick all the time, so you sleep better. All of these things impact performance. So I'd say that's the other really big one.
Yeah, I've been doing this stuff for 18 years now, and you see all kinds of different things coming and going, and people talking about all kinds of various opportunities, and just, I mean, it almost never ends. And I know we both have a dear friend in Stevie Lynn, and I always think about her, and now you, since we've gotten connected, when I see somebody post something, um, even as simple as, and it's a question that will be something along the lines of, should I take water for my 30-minute run? And that is just a very open-ended question to the entire internet, right?
Yeah.
A zillion people are going to have a zillion different answers.
Yeah.
Having been in this stuff for, like I said, 18 years, I take water with me every time. And if I have to put electrolytes in it because I'm going a little bit longer, or it's hot, or it's humid, is that the kind of stuff that you see when it's this uber open-ended question that you want to interject yourself right away and be like, look, come talk to me, because I can help you way more than.
I have, I think I belong to some Facebook groups, that massive trail and ultra community or whatever. I should just unsubscribe, unfollow some of these groups, because I think very early in my career, I mean, I've been doing this for over 10 years. Very early in my career, when I was just trying to get my name out there, or I don't know, maybe I just didn't know better and I was being stupid, but I would I would comment on stuff, and now I'm just I am not touching this with a 10-foot pole. Well, actually, the water thing, I mean, once in a while I'll comment. I'll see something, or if I see someone especially if it's a brand, I can't remember recently. There was a really good recent example where a brand was just I think they were making some sort of nutrition statement that was wrong, or they were just really they should not be making, or they were giving bad advice. And I was first of all, you're a shoe company or something. Why are you, what is this? But yeah, there was something, I think I commented on that. But for the most part, I try to just ignore all the questions. But even that question you propose, I personally, unless I'm in a tropical climate, I go to Hawaii every year, for a 30-minute run, absolutely, I carry a handheld with electrolytes in it, even though I'm not a sweaty, a heavy sweater, but because it's hot, so hot and so humid, and I know I feel better. And also because I've learned the hard way, because almost
Yes.
every year I'm because typically I'm like, I don't need, like, even for like an hour run, I'm fine without bringing water. Again, I'm not a heavy sweater, and typically where I live in Santa Cruz, California, it's pretty temperate climate. We don't really need it. But every year I go to Hawaii, I'm like, it's only 30 minutes. I'm fine. And then I feel like garbage, and I'm like, oh
Yes.
yeah, that's why I brought my handheld and my electrolytes, Claire. And I like bring it next time. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel so much better. So, and similarly, like, I recently got into swimming, and I'll do like a 45 to 60-minute swim, nothing hard, nothing crazy. And I'm in the water, and like, I don't even know what I'm sweating, but like, I, I know now that when I put like a scoop of something, scratch tail and whatever, some sort of carb electrolyte mixture in my bottle, and I sip on it, I feel better.
Yeah.
And it's not just during, it's later in the day. So a lot of it is not just, okay, well, we can look at like general recommendations, because generally for 30 minutes, unless you're a really heavy and or salty sweater, or you're in an environment that is, more extreme, you're probably fine not bringing water and not bringing carbohydrate with you, right? But then we have to like take a step back and be like, okay, well, what's the context? Are you doing double workouts today? Are you in the midst of peak training? Are you like, have you just experimented and just, you feel better? Did you not have a chance to eat before your workout, and this is how you're getting calories in? So it's really, again, it's all nuance. There's so
Yes.
much nuance. We live in the gray area. Extremes are not where we're at. So we always want to ask lots of questions, stay curious, experiment with whatever to see what works best. And yeah, there are no black and white answers, or, oh, the answer to this is always no, don't bring water, don't bring it's like, it depends, and we have to individualize it. Those are always the answers dietitians give, and it's like really annoying, but it's true.
Yeah, but that's the reality. Like again, like I said,
Yeah.
I've been doing this stuff for so long. I know A, I'm a heavy sweater. B, I'm a salty sweater. So I have to do these things
Yeah.
because I don't want to feel like garbage all day
Yeah.
long. I've been dehydrated. It's not fun. It absolutely sucks, and I don't want to do that. And I've also done the sweat test thing, and I do it every year so that I know how much to take in. And because I'm a heavy sweater, like I'm consuming 32 to 36 ounces of liquid every hour. Um, and I have to for myself, right? I know that I have to. And that's why, like, I don't mean to chuckle when I see those open-ended questions, but I think to myself, like, if you or Stevie Lynn saw this, it would be like a bullet point of 17 different questions that they would need to answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of people just don't know, and that's fine. I was just chatting with another dietitian on my show yesterday, and I was commenting because he works with a ton of elites, and I was commenting. I was like, it's funny because I was looking at some of the things you were posting about, like on your Instagram, and like a lot of what you're working on with these elite athletes, it's really basic stuff. Like, it's not groundbreaking stuff to us. To us as dietitians, like doing a sweat test and working on your hydration and like working, training your gut. Like, this is all basic stuff to us, but to athletes, this might be like, a lot of times I work with people and they've never even heard of a sweat test. Like, this is all new information to them. They've been only drinking plain water, or maybe they've been just randomly taking salt pills, so they didn't know. So I always remind myself that, people are coming into their sport or into working with a dietitian with all different levels of nutrition knowledge and experience. And as you pointed out, there's a lot of really confusing stuff out there about what to do. So, so I certainly don't, I'm not surprised when people are super confused, or when they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff because they watch some TikTok or whatever it is.
I'm going to preface this question with two stories. When I was racing Ironman distance, I had friends who told me that they had read about an elite or pro athlete who was training their gut, to race in Kona where it's hot and humid. And they were doing like this workout. I don't remember the lengths or the distances, but then they would stop and they would eat like a plate of nachos, right? And then go out and do the work again just so they could feel like crap, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they could mimic what would happen during the race at the Ironman World Championships. And I do remember one of my first Ironman events. I was at Ironman Texas. It was like 109-degree field temp, humid as all get out. And I'm running through the aid station area, where the special needs area. and I see this athlete take out like a Big Mac. And I just thought to myself, good for you, dude. But like that's been sitting there all day. Like exactly.
Wait, out of his own bag?
Out of his own bag. Like,
Oh,
so that
gross.
means it was there at like 5 a.m., right? Or is there, oh, he bought it last night and he put it in the
Oh,
bag. Like it's been there all day. And the only thing I kept thinking to myself was like, could you have trained to do that? Like, is that something you trained all season long, all off season long to get to this point? So this is again, a long way to get to. What's like one of the things or two of the stories you've heard of people trying to train their gut and you're like, really? That's how you're doing this? And not in a judgmental way, but like, wow.
It's funny, like, I don't know if I've actually heard stories like that of people train their gut. Like what I'll sometimes get my clients to do is, for instance, if they're like a trail and ultra, person, like maybe they're practicing eating on a really hard climb. So practicing eating actual solid food while working at a high intensity, or maybe I'm having somebody in like a proper like speed session in a workout, taking gels, taking sports drink, like making sure they're practicing doing all their fueling at race intensity or even higher. But yeah, it's funny. I haven't really heard. It might just be my client population because so many people come to me underfueled. Like I'd say the majority of people who come to me are just underfueling, and so often I'm getting them to just try stuff, and like the whole concept of training your gut is very new. So I'm not really getting people who are who have been like, I don't know, like eating up. I mean, maybe people are probably like eating pizzas and doing all that kind of stuff. But I think it also depends on your sport. So like
Yes.
I think triathlon in general is a higher intensity sport compared to
Yes.
say like trail and ultra, scene, where if someone busted out like a Big Mac or a pizza, everyone be like, cool, like good for you. Like that's great. Hopefully it's not sitting out there, though that's gross. But yeah, so that's, I feel like it's a little more common. And then once you get into like the 200 distances and anything goes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't heard any crazy stories. Unfortunately, that would be fun if I had some to share. But there are definitely lots of different ways of training your gut, and you don't have to do those things. You can certainly start
Correct.
small, because just to be clear, if someone's listening to this and like, wait, I don't eat anything during or before runs. So like really like training your gut then in that case, like let's say you run fasted or bike fasted or whatever you're doing. It's just like, hey, can you eat something or drink something before your workout? So maybe you're having a half banana, maybe you're having some sports drink or a gel. Like, can you get something into your body if you are used to doing nothing? And then same with if you're used to doing zero gels and zero whatever during a longer session, if it's like say over an hour, put one gel in there or start with one serving of a sports drink and sip it. So it's training your gut is really just like, hey, let's just start with where you're at and let's get your stomach adjusted to starting to take on calories and fluids and all that.
You need to come hang out in our circle so that you can get some of these stories. Like
Yeah.
one of the things that I tell people about, because I raced the inaugural Cocodona, and they were
Hmm.
like, "What did you eat?" And I'm like, "I ate basically everything. Like, if it wasn't nailed down, I was eating it because you're racing for
Hmm.
110. For me, it was 110 hours or so.
Mm.
But I remember getting into Prescott, Arizona, and my crew chief asking me at the aid station prior, like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I want two Impossible Whoppers and as many Klondike bars as you can possibly bring." Right? Like that's what my body was craving in that
Yeah.
moment. And when we got into Prescott, I absolutely sat in the van and ate my two Impossible Whoppers and had one or two of those Klondike bars, and it was phenomenal. Like it was just so glorious to have in that moment. And so I do think the sport dictates the things that you can do, because there's no
Yeah.
way I would have considered doing anything like that when I was racing. First of all, where would you put it when you were racing an Ironman, right? You can't put it in your jersey pocket.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Yeah.
do
And then when
think,
you're, yeah. And then when you're talking marathons, it's like you're
right.
just doing products, so
Yeah, and as we're talking about this, I think that's another factor as people are, going online and to your point, going on TikTok or Instagram or whatever is what is that sport that that person is actually talking about, right? Because I would imagine fueling for a 5K is going to look a lot different than fueling for a marathon, is going to look a lot different than fueling for a 100 miler versus a 200 miler. And so be cognizant of where you're getting your information from and what they are actually talking about. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, context.
Right.
Context is absolutely everything. The flip side of that, I would say, is just because somebody is doing the thing you're doing, let's say you are doing these 200, since you mentioned Cocodona, let's say you are doing a 200 plus mile race. And let's say there's someone who is, not eating carbs or doing a low carb diet or whatever. Just because that works for that person doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and it doesn't mean that it's supported by science. So, hey, if that's working for some people, great, good for them. I'm glad that's working for them and that they're having success with it, because there are some people who have really great success on, not on diets that are not really mainstream or supported by science. Um, cool, but don't preach it to the masses. You know what I mean? Because you're kind of the exception, not the rule.
Right.
And at least as of now, we don't have the science to back some of these things up. So, so I think it's just, you know, look, at the end of the day, your body is your own. You can do whatever you want with it. I'm not here to tell you like I can make suggestions, of course, and I can advise on what is most likely going to be successful for most people. But at the end of the day, like, you're in charge of your own health. You can do or can't do whatever the hell you want. So if you want to try some low carb diet or intermittent fasting or whatever it is you want to do, like, that's your prerogative. But if we look to the evidence and we look to most nutrition experts, and what they suggest is is recommended, that's really probably where you should start. And if you have problems, it's not necessarily the carbs or the sugar. It might be that you're dehydrated. It might be that there's like other issues going on. It might be that you're under feeling. So, I think frequently people are struggling because, especially in endurance sports, with GI issues. But the reality is that GI issues can be caused by so many different things, and people are very quick to like just blame something. So I think you have to be a little bit, you have to do a little bit more investigative work, or try to explore what potential issues are, and not just be like, it's gluten or it's carbs or it's sugar or whatever. So yeah, it's probably really complicated, and it might be that you're underfueling, actually, because that also leads to GI issues.
When you work with clients, and we're getting short on time here, but when you work with clients, do you use like a food journal type of thing with them so that they can track what's the food intake, but then also maybe adding in the thing that caused stress, right? My boss was angry, or I didn't sleep well the night before, because again, your body doesn't compartmentalize these things, right? It
Yes.
doesn't know that.
Stress is stress.
Right. It doesn't understand, right? Correct. So is that how you work with your clients as well, with like a food journal, and so that you can get a better understanding so you can help them more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with food tracking, that should never be a long-term thing. So whenever I have people do a food journal, for me, it's temporary. So maybe I'm initially having them to do like 3 or 4 days, something like that. And yeah, I use a tool where they can input, what they ate and log all that. I can turn off the numbers for them, so I only see numbers and they don't. And then they're giving me context. Like, I like to see what the time of day. I like to see where exercise is. And then, yeah, they can include any notes like, oh my gosh, I didn't have lunch because I had meetings and blah, 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 whatever. So it's really helpful for me to understand what the challenges are for each person, because then I can be like, okay, cool. So when this happens, this is how we can prepare. Or, hey, can you bring this drink instead that has, more nutrition in it, so that you can sip if you're on video and you can't eat, or, whatever it may be. So yeah, I definitely do that with people. And, if people, because I work with people usually for 2 or 3 months, typically 3 months. And so then maybe like week to week, we might spot check things again, or maybe I'm just having someone, hey, can you just log 1 or 2 days a week? Or we decide, hey, you know what, like, people might be just like, this is like too much of a burden. I don't want to do this. Like, let's like look at some other stuff. There are some, yeah. So I use a platform called Practice Better to see clients. I don't love the food journal in there. Chronometer is a really good one that people really like, and that one's a lot better. It's just not integrated in my system, but I think I'm gonna switch over to it. But if people want to get started with something, that tends to be a really good one. And I would just say, like, yeah, spot check, just see what your baseline is, like log, a few days. I did this for myself recently, and it can be really eye-opening of, you think you're getting XYZ in and it turns out you're not. Or maybe you thought you weren't doing a good job with your protein. You're doing just fine, but your carbs suck. Or maybe you find out that your micronutrients are really inadequate in certain places. So it's helpful. And then from just I think the main thing, like just a big issue I see with people is just a lack of consistency with their eating. I mean, adequacy as well, but like, again, I already mentioned this a couple times, but looking for those gaps. So if you log a few days, are you eating every 3 to 4 hours? Like, what are your hunger and fullness patterns like? Not to say that as athletes, we always want to live by those. We don't, because there are most definitely times where we have to eat, even though we're not hungry, in order to meet our needs. And that could be because we just finished a hard or long workout and appetite suppressed. It could be because we're just really distracted and like just zoned into our work, and you have to be like, oh wow, it's time to eat. I need to meet my total energy needs for the day, and I won't unless I eat now. It could be because you have a meeting scheduled at the time you normally would eat, and this is your opportunity to eat, and you're not really hungry, but you have to eat now so you're not starving later. So there are lots of reasons we eat, and it's like, yes, you want to be intuitive, and you also want to be like smart about how you feel too.
I mean, those are such great examples because one single person might have all of those things happen to them,
Yes.
right? Like over the course of a week or two, like you might have all of those scenarios unfold, and it's really important to understand. As you were talking, I'm thinking to myself when I'm training, right? Like I use RPE to determine how hard I'm going when it comes to training, and becomes intuitive. Like I'm running hard, I'm running easy, or whatever it might be. And I started to think about, like, I wonder if like the journaling component of it all, and to your point, limited 3 to 4 days, you start to recognize how you feel and when you're feeling certain ways, so then you can make adjustments because you're dialed in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking for patterns. People sometimes get stressed out about one meal or one day, and I always like to remind people, or even like a weekend or even a week, and I always like to remind them, like, you need to take a step back and just like look at your overall eating pattern, and also paying attention to, like, again, making that connection between when I eat this food, this is how I feel, and it could be good, bad, or neutral. So maybe you eat a certain food and it just doesn't make you feel great. Or maybe it's like, hey, I eat, 2 slices of pizza. It's delicious. I love it. When I eat 5 slices of pizza, I don't feel good. It's like, so it's also like, is it the pizza or did you just eat too much? So it's, or that one thing, like maybe we need to like have a couple slices balanced with something else. So, and I'm just using an example. It's nothing wrong with pizza, but,
Right.
so yeah. So I think it's just kind of playing around with stuff, looking for patterns, noticing any symptoms you have or other issues that you have, and trying to make connections. And sometimes, like, it's hard, and especially if you have GI issues and you're not sure if it's like a food intolerance, or something else is going on. A lot of people start to just eliminate things, and then suddenly you're like, I don't know what to eat anymore, and I'm scared to eat. Like, I get people like that all the time, and it's like, half the time, these people who have been eliminating stuff, it turns out they were chronically underfueled. As a result, their GI was a mess, and we just had to get them to eat more, and then their GI stuff improved. So sometimes you need to check, like, is it what you're eating or is it what you're not eating? So yeah.
We're running out of time here, so I want to make sure the audience knows where to find you. So, website, Instagram, TikTok, where are you so people can come check out all of your great information?
TikTok, I am not on there. I'm too old for that. No, I will not go near that. But I am very consistent with my branding. I am Eat for Endurance, pretty much everywhere. So eatforendurance.com. You can hit my website for I have tons of blog posts, as we were just chatting about offline. Pretty much on everything you want to know about fueling. You can find it there. Very long, detailed blog posts. I also have like 7 free downloads on all kinds of different resources, like what to eat before exercise, and travel nutrition tips, and all kinds of different things. So definitely go there for lots of great free resources. I have a podcast, the Eat for Endurance podcast, which is really fun. I've had it for over 5 years now. And I interview athletes to hear kind of their nutrition stories, is what I like to call it. So both professional athletes and recreational athletes. And then I interview all of my amazing sports dietitian colleagues. So Stevie actually was on last week. She's going to be on again next week. But yeah, lots of different topics on there. Again, pretty much every topic you want is on there, and I love getting topic requests and hearing from my audience. So if there's something on there, something you want to hear about, then just let me know. You can contact me, email claire@eatforendurance.com, and Instagram is also Eat for Endurance.
Awesome. And this will all be in the show notes. So before we let you go, we like to have fun with food around here. And so we have a handful of what we call rapid fire food questions, but your Instagram feed led me to one question that I did not have written down that I have to ask you. So you have a post from a while ago. I scrolled back for a bit. And literally, there is a picture of you with give or take 30 bagels from Essa Bagel in New York City. And so I need to know favorite bagel flavor, favorite cream cheese. What's the combination go to for Claire when she's going back to New York these days for Essa Bagel?
Yeah, I lived in New York City for 15 years and I just miss those bagels so much. It's a tie. So probably it's a everything bagel. I usually do a whole wheat everything, but I love regular everything too. And then Essa Bagels has these, like, they call them multigrain. They have like these oats on the outside. It's probably not a very popular flavor. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I love all bagels. I will eat sesame. I will eat pretty much, just not a blueberry bagel. Don't give me that crap. Yeah, who does that? And if you put lox on a blueberry bagel, you're like a psychopath. Seriously. But yeah, everything bagel, regular cream cheese, whipped cream cheese, and lox. And then often I'll put some avocado in there, some fresh dill, some capers, maybe some eggs on the side. That's usually what I fix up. When I was in New York, I would because I lived in Stuyvesant Town, like kind of near Gramercy, and so I would run up to Central Park, do my leaves to Central Park, and on the way back down, well, we have an Essa Bagels near us, but there was a little while when there wasn't, and I would like kind of run through Midtown East, and like I would have a little running backpack and buy like a dozen bagels, put them in my backpack, run all the way home. But yeah, when we had our own Essa Bagels like right near us, then I would just like go and grab them hot and bring them home and devour them after my runs. It was so good.
I worked on 47th and 3rd, and the one in Midtown that you're talking about was like 2 or 3 blocks up from there. We would have Essa Bagels delivered every Friday to the office, and it was like unreal. So I'm a Tompkins Square bagel guy over on Avenue A.
Yep.
And for me, it is a pumpernickel bagel with vegan scallion cream cheese. To me, that's like heaven on earth, man. And the thing about what's that?
Are you a vegan?
Yeah. I mean, I eat pizza, so I don't call myself a vegan, and I have to have real cheese. Yeah, I have to have real cheese on pizza. But the thing about New York City bagels, for those of you who have never been, have never had one, is the cream cheese is as thick as a brick, right?
It's too much. They put so much on there. I will say I never get a sandwich from a shop. It is like not my thing. I get the bagels, I bring them home, do it myself. Cause they put like 2 inches of cream cheese. Like no one in their right mind is going to eat that. It's not a health thing. Like I just don't like that much cream cheese. It's disgusting. It's so gross.
Yes, I'm with you, Claire. Like I have to scrape off half of it.
It's so gross. Yeah. I don't understand. No.
If you don't order like light cream cheese, you end up scraping off most of it because you can't possibly eat it all.
No, it's too much. Way too much.
We're gonna stay in New York City. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Oh God, no. Nope. I'm not a pineapple on pizza. I love pineapple separate.
Yes.
Pizza. I was a Joe's Pizza person, although there was a really good, was it Baker's was it Avenue B? I forget. There's another pizza place that was really good near me. But yeah, Joe's is on 14th, and I would just get a slice with like, ricotta, and I like white pizza. So it was like the ricotta spinach one that was delicious that I always get.
Tavola is my go-to in New York, 37th and 9th. It's more, wood fire burning as opposed to New York City slice, but it's so good. Stevie threw this at me the last time we had her on the show, which was pickles on a white pizza. Are you?
I would taste that. I bet that was good. I bet that's good. I don't know. I bet that it might be good.
I could see that, right? Just a little extra salty more than anything else. But the pineapple acidity is just off-putting.
No. Well, I also don't like ham really, so, like, usually it's, like, ham and pineapple together. I don't know.
Yeah.
No. Nope.
That's the thing I always tell people who are like, "I love pineapple on pizza." I'm like, "So is it with ham or pepperoni or something else?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "So you don't actually like pineapple on pizza. You actually like that whole combination, which you could get elsewhere. It doesn't have to be on pizza."
And to be clear, I like prosciutto, but not like ham. So,
Yeah.
like, for instance, like a delicious not a sliced pizza, but like a whole pie might be like I love the like an egg on the pizza and it has like the arugula and the prosciutto and the yummy cheeses and stuff like that. Delish.
By the way, thank you so much for calling it a pie. Most of the people we have on here don't call it a pie, and they're like, "What is that you're talking about?" And I always refer to it as a pizza joint because that's how I grew up, right? I'm gonna go to the pizza
Yeah.
joint. Like nobody
Yeah,
calls it
yeah,
a restaurant. It's no pizza
yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
It's Sal who's been there for 35 years, you know?
Yeah. I mean, also like so I went undergrad in my first grad degree at Yale and like they have some amazing pizza there. So they have like was it Pepe's? I don't even remember the names, but Sal and Pepe's. I don't know. They have some really amazing pizza there. So I grew up with a lot of really awesome pizza around. Once I escaped California, that is. Now I'm back in California. Actually, we have some okay pizza. It's very like bougie pizza, you know, but it's there are no like slight. Well, actually, I take it back. I feel like I've been gone too long. I just need to get back to New York and taste the pizza. The bagels I know for a fact are terrible here, but the pizza now I've been here too long and I'm like, this is okay. And I'm like, is it? I don't know.
We have a local joint around here that I've gone to, and it's okay, right? 6, 7 out of 10.
Mhm.
And I asked the guy, I'm like, "This is actually half decent pizza, New York pizza for California. Where are you from?" Fully expecting him to say something like Jersey or Brooklyn. He goes, "Oh, I'm from Utah." I'm like, "Okay, well, 6 out of
Yeah.
10. I get it."
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, a couple more questions for you. Oatmeal raisin cookie or chocolate chip cookie?
Oh, I don't discriminate. I love them both. I will say because I prefer chocolate over I like oatmeal, but chocolate over raisin. So I'd probably be like oatmeal chocolate chip, but in this case, I'll say chocolate chip.
Favorite flavor of ice cream is?
Cookies and cream.
Favorite candy bar is?
I'm not a candy bar person. I don't know. Um,
That's okay.
yeah,
Here's
no, not a candy bar person. I'm definitely an ice cream person though. I love ice cream.
awesome. So this is a great question for you then. Oreos are a great cookie sandwich. Oreos are great in ice cream. Oreos are great as a cereal. Is there another product that you can think of that would be great as all three of those things?
Hmm. Wait, what was it? A cookie
So a
in the
snack,
ice
let's
cream.
call it a snack.
Oh,
A snack, ice cream, and cereal.
I mean, the only thing that comes to mind, do you remember the cereal milk place? Was it Milk? What is that dessert place in the East Village called? You know,
Milk
it's
bar?
by the Milk Bar. Was that it? Where they have the cereal milk soft serve?
I
Do you know what I'm
think so,
talking
yeah.
about? Isn't
Yes.
that from like cornflakes?
I think you're right. I think
So
you're right.
is it like I guess in theory, I mean, this isn't my statement. I'm not saying like this is
We
like
won't hold
really
you
on
to
par with Oreos, but I'm just you asked me a question, so I need to answer it.
it.
Okay, so if it's cornflakes, technically that could be a snack. Technically, it's a cereal, and it also could be related to an ice cream. So
There you
boom,
go.
nailed it.
Yeah. Last one for you. A tray of brownies has come out. It's sitting on the counter. It's gotten cool enough that you can actually get your hands on it now. Are you a corner person, an edge person, or the middle for all of the ooey gooey?
Middle.
Without hesitation, too. I love it.
Yeah, I don't like the corners of things. I don't know. Nah, nope.
So Sicilian
I
pizzas
was
are out.
well, no. Well, pizza's different, but I don't know. The edge of a brownie, it's like no, I like the gooey stuff. Also, like I was that person like growing up. I'm Jewish, and like with challah, like I was as a kid, I was so bad. I would be at temple, and it would be like the whole congregation there'd be challah, and everybody taking challah. I would literally reach my entire little 5-year-old fist in the inside of the challah and hollow it out and take the inside. I would get in such big trouble. But yeah, I would do that and steal the Manischewitz wine, apparently.
The interior of challah bread is so good.
It's
It's so
so good.
soft. It's so
I know.
tasty.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
the perfect French bread. Like
It's so
period,
good.
end of story. It's so
It's
good.
so good. So yeah, I'm a middle person.
I love it. Claire, thank you so much for joining us on this fireside chat. We really appreciate your time. One of the things I'm fond of saying is that time is the greatest gift you can give to somebody. So thank you for giving me of your time and the gift of being on our show. Thank you so much.